Welcome to today's class on Asylum Part 2. Here we will see few case laws and what it implies. If you see the definition, to provide shelter and protection by the host state to a citizen of another state is called asylum. If you see the explanation, the grant of asylum is an old international doctrine but lacking general rules of its regulation in the premises of international law. Asylum is the extension of shelter and protection to an alien by a sovereign in the case where there is a danger to his or her life by the alien, or he is in the fear of being persecuted by his state, by his opponent government due to the divergent political, social, religious view as between his or her government. First we will see the case of Re Castiani. This was in 1891, where it said in the last decade of the 19th century. The leading case was decided by the British court. In this case, Castiani, who had returned to Switzerland from abroad, joined the revolutionary movement in the canton in Ticino, which is in Switzerland, and in the course of it he committed the murder of Rossi, a member of the government. It was pleaded on behalf of Castiani in the writ of habeas corpus that his offence was a political offence for which extradition was not available. He claimed protection under Section 3 of the Extradition Act 1870. Here, Lord Denman said, in order to bring the case within the scope of the Act and for an offence to be political, it must at least be shown that the Act is done in furtherance of or done with the intention of assistance as a sort of overact in course of acting in a political matter, a political arising or a dispute between two parties in the state as to which it is to have the government in its hands. His extradition was refused on the findings that his motive for the act was more political in nature. Here we will see in the next case of Abu Salim extradition case. India does not have an extradition treaty with Portugal. However, Abu Salim, an accused in 1993 Mumbai bomb blast and an underworld don, fled to Portugal along with his wife Monica Bedi. Portugal, in the absence of the treaty, extradited Abu Salim to India after the latter gave an assurance that he would not be given a death sentence. Later, the High Court of Portugal passed an order on July 14, 2004 along with the reason for his extradition to India. His wife has also been extradited to India. In United States versus Rocher in 1886, in this case where the accused was extradited on the charge of murder, but he was tried and convicted in the USA on a minor charge for causing cruel and unusual punishment on the member of the crew. He made an appeal before the Supreme Court of United States, which quashed the conviction order and the release of the prisoner on the ground that unless otherwise provided for by the treaty, the prisoner could not be charged with the offence for which he has extradited unless he was given a reasonable time to return to his country which surrendered him. Now we will see the Dalai Lama's asylum case. India in the year 1959 gave territorial asylum to Dalai Lama and his followers who were oppressed from the repressive policies of China. Although their asylum was criticized by China on the ground that India, by granting asylum, has interfered in the internal affairs of China, India was competent enough to do so because the principle of territorial sovereignty was existing. The grant of asylum should not be considered an unfriendly act as referred by China.